All right, hello everybody. This is Coach Colassa. I'm going to do a little presentation here on our 34 outside veer play. This is going to be a very important play for us. I think any team that runs the flex bone should have this play in their arsenal because what happens is teams start lining up in alignments that'll give you a little bit of some difficulty, like twos and four eyes, and those kind of things. So this play here is kind of an opportunity for you to defeat those alignments with a little bit of a different angle and a little bit of a different blocking scheme. So this is against a 4-4 cover 3 that most teams will run against us, and I'm just going to draw it up first, assuming that this team that we're playing here defensively is going to be stubborn enough to say, even if you unbalance your formation, we're going to stay balanced. Okay, and some teams will do that. Some teams will rotate down or will invert the safety down. Maybe on motion or with even before motion, might rotate that free safety into a different spot and move that either the backer or the corner back to the free safety position and cover the backside. But you have to remember that this man is an eligible receiver. This man is an eligible receiver in this particular formation. The tight end is not. All right, so they need a flat defender here and they need a deep defender here. Unless he motions, and then that kind of clears the way. They can invert down. But let's just assume that they stay in this, and we'll go through the rules and keep it simple. And then on the next few podcasts, we'll go through what happens if they do invert and all those kind of things. All right, so let's go through the rules. I'm going to start with the center because I think the center's block is the most important on this. Is he has to cover the A gap. Okay, so we're going to tell him he's going to scoop the A gap, and that means if there's a 1 technique to the play side, he's got him by himself. If there's a 2 technique on the guard, he's going to assume that 2 is going to slant inside, so he's going to try to get his shoulders almost pointed to the sideline, feet parallel to the line of scrimmage, and try to overtake a 2. Now, if the 2 slants away, obviously he'll go up. If the 2 slants to him, then he's going to get him by himself. If the 2 stays flat on the guard, if he plays them head up, then it'll probably end up being a little bit of a double team. All right, so it's basically a zone concept for the center and the guard here, because the guard does not have to block down in this gap scheme because the center is covering so much ground to the A gap. So it's a quick snap, open hip right. Right step, left step, stay parallel to the line and try to banana scoop all the way through a 2 technique. Now the guard, when we have outside veer called, we'll do some smart splits here. He'll condense a little bit. All right, so he'll bring that shade down towards the center, and it'll be a little bit easier for them to combo on that. Okay, so center's rule, scoop A gap, anything from a 1, 2, and even if there's a 3 there's a chance that 3 might pinch in hard, and the center might end up getting a piece of that 3 technique with the guard. All right, so let's go on to the guard. The guard we're going to say is going to have man on. He does not have to have any down scheme here. Anything down inside of him is going to get picked up by the center. So he's going to have block man on. If it's a 2, he's going to go through his outside hip. If it's a 1, he might, it depends if he has a shade here, we can make a call where he can help back on the 1 if the tackle's good enough to get the inside shade by himself. But for right now, we're going to say man on. So that's the 3 technique. So he's going to work right step through the hip of the 3 technique here and keep his eyes on the backside here in the B gap. Okay, so he's going to work through the inside hip of the 3. If it's a 2, it'll work through the outside hip of the 2, hopefully feeding him down to the center. Tackle is going to be down scheme, all right? So we're going to say tackle is gap down to the inside linebacker, all right? So he's going to take a left step through the outside hip of the 3 and work his way up to this backer here, hopefully driving him and the guard drive this 3 technique into the lap of this backer back here. If the backer comes up over the top, then the tackle could come off and get him. Okay, so it's basically a down scheme for the tackle we could say the guard is not going to have a down scheme because anything down inside is the center's job. All right, and then so same thing with the tight end. All right, tight end is gap down to the first linebacker inside. If there's somebody in that gap, then obviously he has to block him. In this case, we'll either have a 5 or a 6 eye here, maybe an inside shade on the tight end or an outside shade on the tackle. But what we're hoping happens here is that he closes down on the tackle's shoulder, which he normally does, and we're going to take a left step here, and we're going to try to just get inside of that end's hip, okay, and try to drive through the inside portion of his body. If we can't get it and he's all the way down on the tackle, then we'll just bury him down. Okay, we'll bury him down on the outside hip. But we don't know what this guy's going to do. We don't know how disciplined he is. We don't know if he's reading the tackle's shoulder or not. If he stays straight, then the tight end will get inside of him, and the A-back is going to take that same inside step with the left foot first and work through here. So if he comes outside at all, it'll end up being a double team, gap down to the inside linebacker there, okay? Our number one is the first man head up or outside of the A-back, so we'll make him number one. He's the first read for the quarterback. In this case, the X is going to stalk the corner, the deepest, widest, and the free safety now becomes number two. Okay, whether he's deep here, which I don't think, he probably will be a little bit tighter than normal. And he might even invert. He might invert down on motion. He might line up down here. Okay, so basically he's number two. We're going to read him for the dive, and then we're going to pitch off number two. All right, and then the deepest, widest is getting blocked here. And the next, the next defender could be anybody rotating from the backside here. All right, maybe it might be the linebacker. It could be the corner, depending on how they want to play it. All right, so we have 1 and 2. We basically want to create a wall here, and everything on the backside is pretty easy. Scoop backside guard will scoop backside A, backside tackle scoop backside B. The fullback now. Let's start with the quarterback. This quarterback's going to get to 1-2 just like his inside veer with a slight stagger, and then he's going to go 3-4 to get to here. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4. He'll sit. Make sure he's sitting just like on inside veer. Then the mesh will happen just inside the leg of the tackle. Now everybody's going to condense their splits down if we're running outside veer about 6 inches or so. Nothing too drastic, just enough to help out a little bit, give us a little advantage on these down blocks, okay? Now, quarterback gets to here for the mesh. Now, the fullback, in most cases, coaches will tell them to take an open step and a wider veer step. I just like, since we run the belly, I like having him take a belly step, which is a 6 to 8 inch lateral step with his first step, and then basically downhill, aiming for the inside leg of the tackle there. Okay, so we could keep those steps the same as our belly steps instead of teaching a whole new step. So belly step right, and then downhill, aiming for the inside leg of the front side tackle. All right, so the quarterback's mesh will happen here, and then he'll read number one. If number one closes hard, then he's going to follow the butt of the fullback and come right off his hip and attack the D gap hard downhill, looking for the second man, which will probably be rotating down here. And then pitch path is basically the same as 32. On the S and set, we'll turn our shoulders. We'll sprint through the toes of the fullback. When the ball's snapped, we want to be just, outside the B gap here. I'm sorry, just past the B gap here. And then the fullback will clear away. We'll have a mesh, and then that'll allow this A-back to run full speed and keep a 5x2 pitch path out here. If the pitch happens, it's probably going to happen when this free safety comes down about right here. Okay, but in most cases, this play is really a double option play, unless teams are really aggressive with their safeties coming down. Then we might see a quick pitch there after the mesh. All right, but that's our 34 outside veer play, and like I said, a couple coaching points here. Again, we just want to line up about 6 inches, condensed splits here, and the A back will follow as well. And then everything else is basically a gap down scheme until we get to the guard, and we'll tell the guard that you're going to block anybody man on. All right, anybody man on to the backside linebacker. Okay, so if there's nobody man on, then he'll look to like I said, if it's an odd defense where we have a 4 and a 0, then the guard can just basically work up to the play side line, the first linebacker he sees. Okay, all right. So that's 34 outside veer, and we'll be back and we'll do another podcast later where we'll I don't know if we need to invert the safety down. That becomes basically he just plays this gap here instead of playing from up here, but he's still number 2. Okay, and we'll also draw this up against an odd defense next.